Are you tired of setting goals that never seem to get done? Or maybe frustrated with your team saying yes, but not following through? Imagine a leadership skill powerful enough to transform good intentions into impactful results. In today's episode, we're going to talk about why accountability is the leadership skill that you absolutely need and how it can revolutionize your leadership effectiveness. Stick with us. Hey everyone, John here. 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 Welcome to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. Welcome everybody to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. I'm your host, John Espinosa. In this episode, we're going to unpack why accountability might just be the most essential leadership skill that you need. So imagine this. You're in a team meeting, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. It's a project meeting. So there's a lot of tasks being handed out. Everybody has an idea of what they're doing. You leave the meeting. 2-3 days later, the first task is due. What happens? Nothing. So you reach out, ping the individual, hey, how's this going? Oh, well, I didn't know that you needed that. Or even better yet, oh, well, I was going to get that to you next week. What happens? Why does it happen? Have you been there before? Have you been on the other side of not really understanding what your boss needed? The reason why is because we left the meeting and we didn't understand. We weren't in alignment about accountability. And accountability isn't just delegating tasks. That's the easy part. You're going to do this and you're going to do that. Where accountability really closes the loop, and we'll talk about that today, is making sure everybody walks away knowing exactly what the expectation is and when they need to do it by. Accountability, or a lack of accountability, reminds me of the rock game. And anybody who's played the rock game, I'm sure you're very familiar with the fact that you get asked to do something and you go do it to the best of your ability. It's on time. You bring it back, and guess what? The rock's not big enough, or the rock's not shiny enough, or the rock too heavy. Have you played the rock game before? So again, accountability will help alleviate a lot of the rock game issues and when people need to do what by when. Another thing that accountability, and here recently was brought up for me, was losing your edge. And when people get used to doing things, you got a group of high performers, you have a team that's been together for a while. And sometimes it's 6 months, sometimes it's a year, sometimes in my case, it's been 3 to 4 years. And we begin to get comfortable. We've mastered challenges together. We've gone through experiences, and now we begin to get comfortable. So we begin to lose our edge. And that's when accountability starts slipping. And when I mean losing edge is we begin to make mistakes. Small mistakes that normally wouldn't have happened early on. Maybe it's because we're not paying much attention to detail as we should. Maybe it's because our brains are just used to doing the task. Our brains will take the least path of resistance. That's how we survive. The less we have to think about things, for example, like breathing, the more energy we have to do other tasks. So when we get into a very routine behavior, our brain just does it, like driving to work. Have you ever gotten to work before and been like, I don't remember even driving to work, right? Because it's just automatic, that automaticity that we create for routine tasks. And that's when accountability starts slipping. That's when you stop paying attention as much as you probably should be paying attention. So in this episode, if your edge is not as sharp as it once was, is dulling down a little bit, this episode's for you. If your team is making promises and agreeing to get things done, and they're falling flat, this episode is for you. If you need help holding people accountable to the things that they say they're going to do, this episode is also for you. I've been in situations before when you got a great team together. They've been together for quite some time. They all work well. The culture is there. There's nothing really fundamentally wrong. It's just that we're too comfortable. There's not enough edge there. There's not enough accountability to where we start slacking. Maybe the requirement is business casual. And now you've slacked on that. You've slacked on the accountability front, and people start wearing jeans or logoed tees that are inappropriate for the workplace. Whatever your case may be, today we are going to talk about why accountability is one of the most essential skills that you need as a leader. So let's get into the episode. The first area that I want to talk about is clarifying expectations. And this is where the breakdown occurs. As I talk to leaders and I coach and I mentor, and we start to unpack situations, something isn't going like it's supposed to be going. Okay, the expected results aren't happening like they should be. They're not happening because the goals are vague. If you have vague goals and vague expectations, you will get vague results. Period. I've seen it over and over and over again. And this could be very small results, or you could impact a big project. And now you're costing resources, money, time, your reputation, if it's going to create a delay in the project. So there's a lot of things that go with not clarifying your expectations. And in this particular case, this probably is one of the most prominent things where accountability starts to break down, is when we don't clarify them in the first place, or there are no expectations, or we become relaxed. And we start to trust, which is good, but that trust sometimes can equate to laziness, complacency, losing your edge. So some things that I've implemented with the teams that I've worked with are accountability charts. Think of a chore chart that you used to have. My mom was a single mom growing up. My dad and mom divorced when I was young. I was about 6th grade. And we had a chore chart. There was things that we had to get done, myself, my brother and sister, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. And mom would have a chore chart there, and we would do those things. Now, I tell you that because guess what? I knew exactly what chores I had to do. And I'm sure there's things in your life that you had a similar chore chart to. You may even have a chore chart now, but those things have to get done. But what that chore chart did, what that accountability chart did, was hold me accountable to make sure that not only my tasks got done, but the tasks that I needed to complete in order for my brother and sister to complete their task. If I did not wash the laundry, they couldn't fold the laundry. If I didn't load the dishwasher, they couldn't put the dishes away. So you can see, if you take this into a business setting, a team setting, you can see how this can begin to impact people, especially if you have somebody waiting on a task from somebody else and the expectation hasn't been set clearly that I need this done by Friday because on Monday this is going to start. So expectations are probably one of the most fundamental things when it comes to setting accountability for success, setting yourself up for success in establishing accountability. And it can be very, how can I say this? It can be very intimidating because you don't want to rock the apple cart. You don't want to make anybody mad. But in the end, you're going to make people mad anyways. So you have to set the expectation. So create an accountability chart, tie those to the outcomes. My mind always goes back to that chore chart because that's exactly what it was. It was my mom's version of an accountability chart. So this accountability chart is important because it identifies who needs what by when. And that is going to ensure that everybody stays accountable, not just to the task, not just to the project, not just to the company, but to each other. And that's the piece of trust that you want to continue, especially in your culture. Another way to make sure that expectations are clearly stated is alignment meetings. And these alignment meetings, they don't have to be like formal meetings. I do weekly team meetings, and during those weekly team meetings, we don't go through every project that everybody's working on. We got a project chart that does that, so I can get in there and I can look and see where everybody's at. But what I want to make sure is that everybody is in alignment. When I have everybody together, I want to use that time efficiently. And one of the ways that I use that time efficiently is to make sure that we're all in alignment. Make sure that we're all on the same page, if you want to call it that way. And that's just looking around the room after everybody agrees to something and getting a head nod. Not everybody has to agree with what the task is, when the due date is, but we all have to walk away with the clear expectation that that needs to get done. That's how you begin to hold people accountable. You got to get their buy-in. We'll talk a little bit about that. So that way later on, if there is a discrepancy between what needs to happen and what actually is happening, you can have that conversation and you can relate it back to the alignment meeting. So these are some things that you can put into practice. You can make sure that, one, you clearly state expectations, and then have an accountability chart. Make sure that, you have everything there, all the tasks, who needs what by when, and that's going to keep you on track. You can look at it as a project management plan if you're in project management. You can look at it as a schedule. You can look at it as a whatever if you're in manufacturing. If you're in sales, you can look at it as a sales chart where you got to get so many people, so many customers, reach out to so many clients. That accountability chart, put it up, make it visible. People get that competitive nature. Think of it like as a Billboard Top 100. Everybody wants to be on top, right? Well, that's the edge that I'm talking about. That's the accountability chart that if you implement, you keep that edge. It's visible, everybody sees it, everybody wants to get to the top. So what's a practical application that you can start tomorrow? And that's one of the big pieces of this podcast. So get out your journals, everybody. Got my journal. As I was journaling this morning, I said, you know what? I'm going to give you a little bit of homework, Go Be Great community. And for each one of these, you're going to have a homework. So this first one, I want you to write down one major objective that your team is working on. And I want you to create an accountability chart, and I want you to have an alignment meeting. So two things there. What's the big objective that your team is working on? They could be working on it now currently, and you're seeing them slip, or you're seeing people just kind of not turn in deliverables like they should turn in deliverables, or they don't have that edge to them. Or it could be something that is upcoming, and you know that you're going to have very tight schedules, limited resources to get the job done. So create an accountability chart for that objective, and then hold your alignment meeting. That's your homework. I want to take a short break to share some exciting news with you. I'm going to be hosting a live event. We're going to talk about the 5 strategies to building a high-performance team. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, you're looking to scale your business, you started out as a solopreneur, as 1 or 2 people, and now you have systems and processes in place, and you have to grow your business. We only have a certain amount of time as individuals. We can expand that time exponentially through teams. So it's important to understand how to build teams, how to sustain teams, how to train teams. And we're going to talk about that. If you've been in a situation where you've inherited a team, maybe you're a new leader to the organization, or maybe you're a new business owner, you're going to want to sign up and not miss it. We'll have a short presentation, and then I'll open it up for questions and answers. I'm excited for you to join us. Head on over to thejohnespinosa.com and get registered. Now back to the show. The next one we're going to talk about is creating ownership. And when we talk about accountability, this goes back to the buy-in comment that I made earlier. People will support what they create. Brendan Burchard, I always go back to him. I love Brendan. It isn't mine. I got to give him credit for it, but is probably one of the most powerful statements that I have written up on a sticky in my office. People will support what they help create. And think about this. Just let's break that down for a little bit. When people feel like they have a vested interest, when they feel like they have ownership into a project, into a company. That's why you see a lot of these co-op companies that work. They let people buy into the stocks because they want that. If I'm invested into a company and I got shares into that company, do you think I'm going to work harder? Heck yeah, I'm going to work harder. It's no different than when you create a project or there has to be something that you need support to get done. Give them a little bit of the creation into that. And now guess what? You have something more powerful than money can buy. You can pay somebody a lot of money and you can create buy-in, and no matter how much money people are making, they will get the job done. They will produce on time, and it will be the best dang product that you've ever seen. So creating ownership, very, very important. A couple applications here. Delegate tasks based on strengths and passion, not on availability. A lot of times when we have projects come up or tasks that need to get done, What do we normally do? I normally see people who's available. That's the go-to. The other one is who gets things done. Let's give it to them. And they may be already over tasks, oversaturated, but they get everything done. So we're going to give it to them. How about this? Try this on. Next meeting, you have something you need to get done and you ask the team, I need this project done or I need this task done. Who has a passion for it? And allow somebody to raise their hand. How powerful is that? Now what you've done is you've created ownership. You've allowed that individual to raise their hand. They want to be a part of that. Now you just empower them. You give them the autonomy to go and get the job done. And that comes along back to trust. A lot of this centers around trust. That's why we started with trust in this season, because it's very important that you have trust in order to ask a question like that. And then they need to trust you. When they raise their hand, you allow them to do it. So that is a way that I have done. Delegate tasks based on strengths and passions, not necessarily on availability, and then provide autonomy on those tasks. So this is the opposite of micromanagement. This is the opposite of command and control. This is, hey, I need this done. This is when I need it done by. Do you have any questions? Do you have any suggestions? How can we do it differently? Is there anything that I'm missing? And then go execute. And I don't have to check in every hour or every day or ask for a daily report. I just trust that they're going to go do it. I give them the autonomy. Now that we have the expectations clearly stated, the accountability chart, everybody should know what they got to go do. Now let's go get the job done. Very, very powerful when it comes to accountability. One of the things that I would ask yourself is, am I currently doing this? What is my current environment? What does it look like? Do I create ownership when I delegate work? Because if not, this is going to be your homework. I want you to identify one task this week that you can delegate based on somebody's strengths or somebody's passion around getting the job done. Okay, so this may look a little bit different for your team, especially if you haven't been showing up this way. You're going to allow yourself to be a little bit vulnerable here, and you're going to ask the question. You're going to take a task and then just go try it out. What do you got to lose, right? If you don't believe what I'm saying, if you don't believe in anything that we're talking about, try it. I challenge you and see how it works. So creating ownership in tasks, powerful, powerful stuff right here. Go Be Great community. This is one of the things that great leaders, I walk into organizations and they're doing this and people are getting the job done. High performers want to work in an environment where they have ownership in. The last one we're going to talk about today is fostering this feedback loop. And you all know, if you've been listening to me for any length of time, know how important I believe feedback loops are. It comes from my training background. We've been fed and educated and really beat into our heads that we got to get feedback. Now, feedback in training comes from tests, comes from questions that we program into the lesson, may come from exercises, practical exercises, may come from worksheets. Whatever that looks like, it's feedback. That is all feedback. So when we lead others, it's important for us to get feedback because in the end, we are teaching them how to be leaders. And I want people to give me feedback on their progress to becoming a leader. That's our job here. Leaders leading leaders. I want to create a team of leaders that, one, know what their expectations are. Two, have a sense of ownership in those expectations. And now three, provide me feedback as the leader of that organization, that business, that team, on whether we're on the right track to execute and get the job done. Sounds like a pretty good organization, not only to lead, but to go work for, huh? So feedback, we're going to build trust here, and it keeps everybody in alignment. So we don't have to go back and stop everything and say, what's going on? What's wrong? Right? We're constantly getting feedback. A way to do this is to schedule check-ins. You know, as a project manager, my background in, I would check in with each one of the team members to make sure that they didn't need anything. They thought they were on track. And you can do this weekly. You can do this bi-weekly, depending on how long the project is going to be. You can do this monthly. I like to do it in 90-day sprints. It's a short enough amount of time to get some lessons learned. If you have to pivot, you can pivot, but it's not too long to where you go in, things are behind schedule and now it starts impacting the downflow items that you got to get done in the project. So regular check-in meetings. And then use the feedback to recognize achievements publicly. If somebody is ahead of schedule, if they turned in something early or under budget, whatever that looks like, recognize them. Recognize that not only did this piece, this phase, this part of the task of the project got done early, now what we're able to do is we're able to build that lead time in to everything else down the line. It creates a sense of excitement. This is how you keep the edge to people, because now what are they going to do? They're going to work as hard as they possibly can to meet that expectation, because that's the expectation now. John is getting things done before the deadline. So I look around, if I'm working with John and I'm like, yeah, I want to get my stuff done too. It just feeds off of that energy and that momentum. A lot of what accountability is maintaining momentum and energy within the organization. And you do it through the feedback. Do you need to pour a little bit of gasoline on the fire? Or do you just need to sit back and let the team do what it needs to do? That's what feedback is going to give you. It's going to provide that gauge of how much you need to interact and how much you need to motivate and empower others. Throughout the day, throughout the project, throughout the year. Check-ins, very important. One of the things here that I like to ask during these check-in meetings are, what are any obstacles that are in the way? And then my expectation with the team is, if there are obstacles, bring me a strategy. Bring me a solution, or at least let's plan the next steps. Because they know that that's the next question I'm going to ask. If there is an obstacle, what are your thoughts? How can we mitigate it? How can we transfer it? That's the first thing that's going to come out of my mouth. So the team knows if they're going to bring me a challenge, they need to also bring me a strategy that goes along with it. And you program this, right, into the team to where they begin to do it themselves. Again, we are teaching others how to lead, and that is leadership. When you just don't come to me with problems, but you come to me with challenges and solutions. Very important there when we talk about feedback. So your homework here is to schedule a team feedback session today or tomorrow or whenever you're listening to this, but do it within 48 hours. And I want you to communicate the purpose of why you are wanting the feedback. Ask a good question. Come up with 2-3 good questions. Am I supporting you the way that you need to be supported in this project? What are things that you may see as challenges or obstacles along the way that we can prevent today? 2 good questions right there. Write them down, put them in your journal. Excellent way to get the conversation going, and you're going to immediately start getting feedback. And then you can do one-on-ones, weekly one-on-ones, weekly team meetings. Great way to get feedback, great way to stay in the loop. People think it's micromanagement. If you're meeting with your people, if you're talking to your team, it's micromanagement. I've never gotten that. I've never understood how that is micromanagement. For me, it's consistently communicating. It's staying ahead of issues before they blow up into big challenges or roadblocks. And it allows individuals to begin to trust and build that trust. So when you do ask the hard questions, they're more likely to bring the hard strategies to help get the job done. And that's what accountability is. Accountability is holding each other accountable. This isn't just a one-way street. As leaders, we set the expectations. We communicate what those expectations look like. We make sure that people understand they have a part, they have an ownership in the success, and then we constantly get feedback. I hope this episode helped you today. I believe in you. Go do your homework. I can promise you it'll get the job done. Go be great. Talk to everyone later. Bye-bye. If you like what you're hearing, do us a favor. Click on that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up or leave a comment. That lets us know that what we are putting out benefits you. If you want additional information or resources or learn how to work with me, head on over to thejohnespinosa.com, because when we become better versions of ourselves, it helps us get others to where they're going. Go be great. Talk to everyone later.